we are told are drones over sensitive, super sensitive military facilities. It sounds like nothing at the moment, but I wager it's going to turn out to be enormous.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the goddamn internet. And today the main focus will be Ross Coulthart. Okay, we've been talking about him for a lot of time, a lot of months, so many videos, right? But the new show that came out on Need to Know had some pretty cool details, so we're gonna be checking that out. But before we do, make sure you subscribe, notifications on to not miss an update, because we'll be covering everything, every cool detail dropping, coming out, all these crazy things like the drones over US airspaces are happening. So make sure you subscribe, notifications on, share with your friends and family, that helps the absolute most, and like and comment to show me that you're interacting with the video, you're enjoying it, I should make more, so that would help a lot. So yeah, get your snacks, get your popcorn, and let's watch this shit.
Which is sort of
right now.
It's a way of pivoting from 2024 to 25, because this seems to be ongoing.
I think 2024 in future will be seen, ironically, as the calm before the storm.
Wow.
I think...
You guys hear that? The calm before the storm. That sounds hella cool. Okay, so we're gonna be in for a ride. Ross has a lot of sources that is telling him this, and he's making some pretty fucking insane claims. Okay, so let me know what you think that means. Okay,
very early in 2025, all hell is going to break loose.
So the main man Ross says all hell will break loose. Okay, so hold him accountable to that. If he speaks about stuff like this and it does not happen, then there's got to be some pushback, right? So yeah, I'm really interested to see what will come out of this, right?
Question for Mr. Coulthart. What is your take on why the NHI do not just reveal themselves? Do you agree with the idea that there is an agreement for delayed or complete non-disclosure? Because if true, I would find that to be somewhat confusing behaviour on behalf of the NHI. I also think that if they were waiting for us to be ready, that maybe we wouldn't be seeing them in our skies, or maybe at all. Thanks for the work you do, and hoping to hear your thoughts. Okay, Mr. Dark. I think there's a really interesting explanation that I'm beginning to hypothesize. This is only a speculative hypothesis on my part, but it is based on work that I am doing that is increasingly focusing on what I believe is a consciousness connection to the UAP phenomenon. I do think that there is a link between what we call psychic phenomena, telepathy, or psionics, as is the more neutral term that's used by the military and the defense community. I do believe that there is a connection between human psionic abilities, telepathic, psychic abilities, and consciousness, and that the UAP phenomenon is tied into that. And I suspect this is one of the largest reasons for why this is being kept secret, and for why the NHI are not overtly showing themselves. And my growing hypothesis, it's just a hypothesis, because there's a few things I can't tell you right now that I'm going to be reporting on in coming weeks, and I'm very excited to be bringing you that story. But I do know that the Air Force has been working on psionics for many, many decades. They never stopped investigating the power of the human mind and consciousness ever since the Stargate program.
Okay, so I just want to mention right now that there's been a lot of talk as well that I've seen about these craft being controlled with your consciousness. Your mind basically steers this thing or some shit. So that's really interesting that these are connecting like that, right? And yeah, it gets better. Make sure you stay till the end, because this video gets crazy as it goes, okay?
Program and the remote viewing program. I know it's been poo-pooed. I know there's a George Clooney movie based on John Ronson's book called The Men Who Stare at Goats. And I know all the supposed debunkers say it's BS. But I can tell you, it's not BS. I've seen it for myself, and it's real. And in forthcoming weeks, you will see why I say it's real. And I believe the United States Air Force has knowingly deceived Congress, successive presidents, and the American public, and the world about what it knows for far too long. It's time for this story to be told.
So I'm definitely gonna have to be agreeing with Ross that this story has to come out. And he says in the next few weeks. Guys, what the fuck do you think that means, okay? These psionics and all these weird terms. Have you guys ever heard of the Monroe Institute? Apparently that's where all this started. CIA funded mind control. Even connects to that serial killer, the Manson family. He could brainwash these two girls to go and kill people. And yeah, apparently he was in MK Ultra, all this weird bullshit. Let me know if you guys are updated on that kind of law, right?
Now, coming back to the question from Mr. D'Arc, I think the NHI are showing themselves in our skies to twig our consciousness, to make us humans aware of capabilities that many of us don't even realise we have. And I've seen those capabilities demonstrated in recent months. I know they're real, and I frankly don't give a flying fig what the debunkers or the skeptics or the trolls would say about that. It's real.
Okay, so I just want to say, what the fuck, Ross, saying fig? What the fuck is a fig, guys? Is he scared of being demonetized, right? Yeah, the statements he's making is pretty out there. Sounds pretty woo, but I do know he has a lot of sources, and he is very credible. One of the more credible people in the community, I would personally say. I have a copy of his book somewhere here. Should just check where it is, then flex it off. But yeah, Ross is a really good dude, okay?
And they will soon be eating humble pie. The capacity for the human mind to engage externally with some kind of uber consciousness has been speculated about in science. Go and have a look at the work on microtubules. Let's have a look at what modern science is speculating about a quantum connection between the human brain and an external consciousness. That's where we're going in this. So what if UAPs are merely a manifestation of something that is above and around us, a consciousness? Some might call it God. Yeah, I know, this is heavy stuff. But what if the purpose of its engagement with the human race is to slowly twig our awareness and to encourage us to use abilities that we don't even know we have? I'm very interested in hearing from people who were part of the GATE program 20 to 30 years ago, who found themselves in rooms with US Air Force officers and strange psychologists in white lab coats, showing them on occasion strange, apparently non-human objects. Yes, this has been happening. Young kids, prepubertal kids, have been misused in experimentation by our military in experiments designed to develop an understanding of how to engage with the phenomenon, with a consciousness. And I think at the same time that NHI consciousness is trying to engage with humanity individually. I've spoken to so many people. I had a message this morning from
out here talking about individually, okay? Why do they pick favorites, okay? I want to be contacted. I have all this merch of theirs, right? Fucking contact me. Make contact, the fuck. Choosing individuals. Come on. Yeah. Anyone that has ever had this, or especially in recent weeks with all these happenings, right?
From one person who's an very senior US Air Force person working in a very sensitive area, who told me that they had psychical abilities and they'd never spoken about it, but when they told me about their sighting of a gigantic craft, I said to them, by any chance, do you have psychic abilities? Have you ever had an intuition or a precognition? And they said they were very moved by my question because they'd never really spoken about it, but yes, they have. And everybody I talk to tells me about intuition, precognition, some kind of second sight, some kind of insight that gives them an ability to understand or engage with things in a way that humans can't quite understand. And I think that's what lies behind our understanding, or our growing understanding of the phenomenon. I think that if these are craft, if they are craft at all, they are a manifestation of a consciousness that is trying to engage with humanity. And I think, interestingly enough, the evidence that I am acquiring suggests that these craft can only be operated by people with those psionic abilities.
So, recently, okay, I just hope Ross is not too believing in one person, but as I know him, he has multiple sources backing what he says up. One person that has also mentioned all this talk about psionics and controlling a UFO with your mind, etc., is Jason Sands, some shit like that. So let's check out this clip, okay?
These people can do some very amazing things with their consciousness.
You mentioned people from South America and others. Do you think there's some sort of genetic lineage or something that's in them that makes this a little bit more adept to this?
Yes, genetically speaking, I'm sure there is. And they've kind of more explained it on a genetic level. But I mean, if coming from somebody who's learning about this as much as everybody else is, so I'm having to kind of figure out what they're saying and
piece it together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, somebody who does this for a living day in and day out, they could tell you like the back of their hand on how they screen it or what these people's genetic abilities, or at least how they screen the genetic predispositions for that.
Mike, what kind of numbers are we talking about with these P3 beings? Are we talking 100 a month, thousands a year, 1,000 a year, or how many people are they collecting for this?
From what I understand, because these people, again, are human, right? So they're susceptible to, obviously, the adverse effects that come from operating this machinery, if you will, as well as the drugs that they flood them with. So they're flooding with serotonin and a bunch of other uppers because it also keeps them at a very high consciousness level. It's almost like somebody going through hospice who's dying of cancer. Well, they flood them with these similar drugs and they're feeling good. They don't feel like they're dying. So they partake in these programs because they feel good all the time until the inevitable happens, which is unfortunate. So,
and what is that?
Well, obviously dying from the drug overdoses that they're doing with these uppers.
So there's a shelf life on these human beings.
Yes, there is. So that's why they have to continually keep refreshing the stock, if you will.
And how long is that?
It spans from, I've heard instances where as soon as somebody gets hooked up to this machine, that they either die or some best case goes to a coma. Not everybody has this, but on the earlier stages of when they were refining this project of hooking people up to this advanced technology.
Is that like after a month, a year? Or?
I don't know the specifics of that. I think it just depends on what the person's threshold is directly.
So they're a disposable item.
Pretty much. That's why they call them assets or P3 assets or pink assets.
And this equipment, where does it come from originally? I'm talking about the interface between the P3, the ET, and the agent.
Well, I don't know specifically. I'm assuming that it's coming from extraterrestrial technologies that actually incorporate into these P3 assets. So it's essentially a device that can control. So if I was to plug something into you and you have the predisposition to hook up to this advanced technology and craft, then I control you, what you're doing, and then you're going to relay the information on how we can utilize that equipment. Either they can turn it into a weapon system, into some sort of other advanced technology, or even reverse engineer craft.
Now, how far advanced is this technology compared to human technology today?
From what I understand, thousands of years. I mean, from what I've personally witnessed, I mean, that is way beyond cutting edge. And I thought,
Is this a form of like consciousness-assisted technology?
Yes. Very advanced, though. Something that, because when people start coming out with consciousness-associated technology or CATs, I mean, that was in the 80s.
Right.
In present day, I'm sure they've refined this well over the years, even coming in contact with probably other methods of how to utilize it.
Now, guys, okay, Jason Sands, you got to take him with a little, just a tiny bit of pinch of salt, okay? Because, there's been some stories, some talks about him being weird, okay, and not always being as truthful as he would want to come forth, right? And he's like very into Gaia.com and all that weird websites, right? That want subscriptions for all this weird higher knowledge or whatever the fuck they're trying to sell you, cult-like stuff, right? That's why I'm disappointed in Stephen Greer as well, a tiny bit, okay, because he charges to learn the CE5 process, etc., But let me know what you guys think about all this. Do you think it's trustworthy? Do you think it's credible?
Let's talk about the 20 and back program. There's not a lot of people out there that understand this. Let's get in the definition of that and how you were involved.
Sure. Well, again, I was deployed at 17 years old for a 20-year tour. So from 17 to 37, did my tour. And then when they bring personnel back to Luna Operations Command, they do what they call a memory wipe, but it's not a wipe, it's a suppression of memory. And they also do something they call an age reversal, but it's not actually an age reversal. They hatch out a clone body that's the same age when you left, and then transfer your entire consciousness into that clone and then stick you back, again, 15 minutes after you left. And so, again, the next morning, I wake up thinking I had a dream that was months and months or years long, and it's just like, well, that was really weird. And then just kind of had to deal with the recovery from that point on. But that's basically it.
Do you know the science, how that works, the shifting of consciousness into another living organism?
Well, since I wasn't awake for the process, I can only tell you what I've been told about the process. My understanding is that not to get too metaphysical, because as I understand, this is a very scientific thing, that our spirit and or consciousness is a quantum fluid dynamic. And being a quantum fluid dynamic means that it can be removed and put from vessel to vessel. So they can take your consciousness and your spirit being out of your body, put it into a temporary vessel, and then put it into another body, or an alien even, or another species or whatever. But in this particular case, my understanding is they just put it into a younger clone version of yourself and then send you back so that you don't think anything happened, or that no one's the wiser anyway.
So Jay says, welcome to the family.
It's good to be here. This is so bizarre. So initially I thought it would be lots of just clean, equally perfectly spaced lines of code, like the way that I was imagining it.
Yeah.
And then looking at it, even I can see it now, some. And none of it makes any sense.